this morning about 5 really basic parts of teaching and learning that every school should have in place. Every school. So I'm going to, all right, here we go. And I want those of you that are watching now and those who are going to be watching later, I want you to think about, do we have a really solid grasp on each of these 5 tools in our school? And if you don't, then, and we're glad to help you, we need to take a really deep dive into each one of these. These are really the foundation for teaching and learning. So quickly, 1, the curriculum and instructional frameworks. 2, standards, deconstruction, and unit planning. And we've done some revising, and we have a very clean protocol that is linked to the teacher backpack that will take you through this process in a way that really leads you to the kinds of outcomes we want in the lessons that we plan for our students. The assessment landscape is something that I don't think we've spent enough time on. Really, really important. We're going to talk more about each one of these as we go. The assignment review protocol we introduced last year, and I know your assistant superintendents and EAs introduced that to you. We're going to be doing a lot more work with that this year. It's a really important tool. And then the quality work protocol. So when teachers are planning together in those collaborative team PLCs, these are the tools that they should be looking at and using. There are others that should be there as well that are connected to these. So, for example, the R tool is connected in here several times, in fact. These are just like the skeleton, really, for teaching and learning. Very, very basic. All right. Let's go to the next slide. So here's some questions to think about. If you were to ask, or if I were to ask your teachers these questions, how would they answer? So 1 is, how do you decide what to teach and how to teach it? 2 is, how do you deconstruct standards as well as combine standards to create units of study? And that's an important one. We do a lot of deconstructing, I think, but overall, and not just JCPS, but everywhere, we haven't spent as much time on combining those standards to plan really carefully, careful units of study. Sometimes, not all the time. It needs more attention. 3rd, what would your teacher say if someone asked, where can you find information about different types of assessments, their purposes and examples, and assessments aligned to standards ready to use? Where do you find those? Where can you find that information? 4, how do you know the tasks you create for students are on grade level and aligned with standards? What would your teacher say to that one? 5, how do you know what the products you ask students to create, how do you know that those products are the quality that they need to be? What would your teacher say to that? How do you know that what you're asking students to do is the quality that it needs to be? And then finally, where can you find all of the resources that should be the answers to these questions? What would your teachers say? So I'm just going to leave that right there for right now. And I'm going to turn it over to Susan and Susanne, and then we're going to come back to these questions later on.
Good morning. In the last couple of years, we've spent time with the new Kentucky Academic Standards, with our standards rollout teams in our schools. And so we know that you guys are already hard at work with all of that. So really, we begin our work in CDLI with the standards. And so we're really excited this morning to show you some new designs in our curriculum frameworks that where we have just really put into place the standards and how those standards come to life for our JCPS students. So Susanne is going to tell you a little bit more about our frameworks and the new design elements in our frameworks. Suzanne?
So on your screen here, you'll see our purpose statement for the curriculum frameworks across disciplines. And so I think really importantly, as Susan said, they begin with the standards, and they're all student-centered, learner-centered, fostering racial equity, aligning to our backpack of success skills, and leverage deeper learning that's connected to our local context, to our community. And so in all of our frameworks, social studies, science, math, the arts, world languages, across disciplines, you'll see that these design principles are present, namely equity, cohesion, flexibility, quality, and deeper learning. And all of these can be found in the teacher backpack by grade level.
And just to make sure everybody knows about where that backpack is for your teachers, of course, they just go into their bookmarks that are in the top left side of their Chrome browser, and they can find that backpack right there for them.
So our JCPS instructional framework goes hand in hand with our curriculum frameworks. But the instructional framework really provides a disciplinary structure for the how for teaching and learning. So each framework, of course, is grounded in research, includes best practices for engaging students. The instructional framework outlines what teachers and students will be doing throughout a learning experience. Ready? Next. Okay. So these are two of our frameworks, and they represent the workshop model. So the one on the left is our elementary math workshop, and the one on the right is the classroom one for ELA K-6-12. I'm sorry. In the next coming weeks, especially next week, we are going to be providing professional learning on how to really execute the elements of the workshop in a virtual environment, because we know that structure is so important to the teaching and learning process. So be sure you tune in on Monday, where Joe McKim, Maddie Shepard, and Suzanne will be really laying out the foundation for the workshop model in the virtual environment.
The standards deconstruction document, purpose statement, and overview of the tool is here on your screen. And we know that standards deconstruction and finding coherence among standards across a year and in unit planning is a really important part of long and mid-range planning for collaborative teams, and it's built into our curriculum framework. And so our team has reimagined the standards deconstruction document to prioritize the elements of quality design that will bring us closer to our vision for teaching and learning. And so we're just going to kind of quickly give an overview of the shifts that you'll see in this document. And so, for example, it used to be that we did standards deconstruction at the very beginning of the school year. We would identify essential standards and deconstruct those standards, and then just plan throughout the year without maybe coming back to that document. And so the effect of that was that we were maybe just teaching the skills in isolation rather than seeing how those skills and standards come together in coherent performances. And so what we've done here is you'll see many similarities between the previous document and this document, but this is done at the unit level, the mid-range planning level. In each section, there are specific instructions for teachers and collaborative teams on how to conceptualize their responses in each portion. We lead with the standards always, and we are ensuring that we're bundling those standards together rather than teaching them in isolation. Of course, in math, there may be some units that are single standard. And so our math folks and the rest of our CDLI disciplinary leads are going to have examples and professional learning around the use of this document specific to each discipline. And so along the left-hand side, again, we're trying to prioritize the elements of quality design through this document. And so we're beginning with the end in mind. We're beginning with those performance assessments. What is it? What are those essential understandings, the ways in which those standards come together in performance in multiple assessment genres to really show student learning. And so you'll see those questions there along the side. And then we move into success criteria. And I know Maddie Shepard and Joe McKim have been working really hard on developing some great professional learning around competency-based and standards-based grading. And a big part of that could make this process more seamless for collaborative teams are single point rubrics. And so we're going to have some more PD on that and on how we grade and provide feedback around standards in a competency-based way in NTI. And so that would happen here in the success criteria portion of this planning. And then we get to the portion that we're all very familiar with, where we're looking at the different dimensions of the standard and breaking it down into conceptual understanding and skill. And then this is where teachers would dig into that process, those daily plans that would be connected to the learning experiences that are going to scaffold to bring together the understanding into these holistic learning experiences. So these are the major shifts in the document. And again, this will be linked in the PLC framework. And it's coherent with all our vision for deeper learning and the type of design elements that we're trying to prioritize, the thinking that we're asking teachers to do. And our team will be providing professional learning and examples in each content area for how to use this document in an intentional way.
Okay, so our assessment landscape page, which is linked in the teacher backpack, is really a bit under construction, but it will be ready for teachers when they are back on Monday. But this is a page that identifies and defines the various types of assessments. So building leaders, collaborative teams, and teachers can use this assessment landscape page for the triangulation of data when you are making those instructional decisions. So again, the assessment landscape page is linked in the teacher backpack. You will see that there will be our universal screener, which we know is MAP. You know, I'm the MAP lady. And then there's formative assessments, summative assessments, demonstrations of learning. So those define the how and the why. And in our curriculum frameworks is actually where you can go to find examples of assessments. So Dr. Coleman, I'm really trying not to give the answers to the questions at the end, but Susanne is now going to share with you the assessment design in one of our Unit 0 in ELA Middle School. Susanne?
So this is just an example of the task structure that we've included in the design of our curriculum frameworks. We offer several formative performance tasks and summative performance tasks that then connect to transfer tasks, or for example, in social studies, taking informed action. And so this is just an example of how collaborative teams might, after doing their standards deconstruction, bundling the standards together, and pulling text together into a coherent plan for students. This is an example of how we might structure formative, summative, and transfer tasks. And these are all in the frameworks, and collaborative teams can modify these, use them as examples of rigor. And so this is the one from Module 0, which is laying the groundwork for the year in ELA. And so you'll see this formative task over here, which is bundling together both receptive and expressive knowledge standards. So we have our reading and our composition with a single text. And then you'll see that then with our summative task, and of course you would have formative assessments all along the way. In our summative task, we are pulling together more text, more cognitive load, and bringing together the performance holistically. And then we have a transfer task where students are taking the academic learning that they've done in the classroom and transferring it to a context either outside of the classroom or in a new medium or a new genre. Here they get to be creative and bring in art into the ELA classroom. And so this is Unit 0, and so these are just really simple tasks that model the structures that we are going to see with more complexity that build throughout the year in modules 2, 3, and 4. And so this structure of formative performance, summative performance, and then a transfer task or taking informed action, tasks like that, are design elements that collaborative teams can find in all of our curriculum frameworks across disciplines.
All right, thank you all. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the assignment review protocols. TNTP is just the name of the group that publishes these. They are actually going to be working with us this year so that we can have some training firsthand from them. But if you are familiar with the opportunity myth, this is the same group that published that study. And if you're not familiar, you should Google opportunity myth. And essentially what they did was they went into thousands of schools and thousands of classrooms, and they looked to see what teachers were teaching, and then they determined whether or not what they were teaching was truly aligned with the standards for that grade level. And in far too many instances, they were not. It was not aligned and was not even on the grade, a high enough grade level. And so we know that all students have to be exposed to grade level standards. That doesn't mean we don't personalize and modify to get them there. We have to scaffold. We know that, but they have to be exposed or they will certainly never get there. And the folks at TNTP also found that this was especially a problem in schools with higher risk population. And so this is a big deal. So the assignment review protocol, we're going to be talking about more throughout the fall, but the tools are easy to use. They're linked in the teacher backpack, but they do take some time. And so I'm not suggesting that you have to use this protocol with every assignment that teachers create, but you certainly need to spend some time going through the protocol with some assignments so that teachers can really start to develop the lens that they need to make sure that they are creating work for students that truly is on grade level. And not just teachers, all of us. This process has been very helpful to me as well. And I am excited for us to learn more about it. I think that it will be a huge help. So more to come, but don't wait. Take a look at these and start to use them if you haven't already. All right, number 5.
Okay, so number 5, our fifth protocol is our quality work protocol. We all know that the quality work protocol isn't a new protocol in JCPS, as we have been using this for several years now, because we know that when we begin to examine student work, that can be a real driver for changing teacher practice. Because, you know, the process with the quality work protocol is where collaborative teams really look at student work, analyzing those work products, And in the quality work protocol, there's also quality indicators so that teachers can look at the student work against the quality indicators to maybe see where are there some maybe misconceptions. Is this really aligned to grade level? What is it that we can really do to ensure that the quality of the student work is exactly what we want it to be? Because I think sometimes we accept that, oh, well, maybe this is just the best. But the quality work protocol really challenges us to take a look at what is quality grade level work. It's a simple process that teachers and teams can go through. But it's really to ensure that, hey, here's the instruction, here are the assignments, and then now here's the product. So let's really take a look at the student products and see, okay, is this quality? What, if it isn't, what can we do to, improve it? If it is quality, what can we do to make it even better? So also building in some time for student reflection after you've gone through the quality work protocol so that it's not just teachers looking at the work and thinking, how can we make this better? But it's also students really taking a look at their own work so that they actually have that ownership and, okay, I see where I am, and then I know through the feedback that my teacher has given me and through the reflection that I've had, then I know how to make my work better. And you can find the quality work protocol in the teacher backpack.
So I think right now, Elaine has posted the link to the teacher backpack in the chat. And if you don't have that bookmark, do it as fast as you can. Because I will tell you, I go to the teacher backpack multiple times every day. No exaggeration. Everything is there. We've also done some revising, right, Susan? And you're going to be sharing those things later in a session today. Awesome.
Yes, we have made some revisions to the teacher backpack. We're always going through the quality work protocol with our team. And so, yes, Kathleen, Receiver, and I will be sharing that on Monday. Because if you don't know Kathleen, you need to, because she is brilliant and has been instrumental in really helping us to make the teacher backpack something we are so proud of. So thanks, Kathleen. We'll be showcasing the teacher backpack on Monday.
And Dr. Coleman and Susan, I want to make sure that everyone knows as well, all of our students have a quick bookmark right up to the left of their Chrome browser, and it is actually titled JCPS Quick Links. And once you click on that, you'll be able to see the backpack link, and your students will be able to with Clever as well. And the digital learning channel is bookmarked too. So
awesome. So Suzanne's going to just talk briefly, because I know we only have 5 minutes and you're dying to know the answers to those questions that Dr. Coleman has for you. So she's really going to just briefly highlight how all of these essential resources and protocols really support the implementation of the instructional core. Suzanne?
So JCPS's instructional management resources are aligned to the 6 systems. We begin with standards, which are bundled together in student-centered modules in the curriculum frameworks. The instructional frameworks structure the how of teaching and learning, while the assessment landscape defines the type of data used to make instructional decisions. Within the PLC process, collaborative teams can ensure the quality of tasks and student work using those protocols that Dr. Coleman talked about from TNTP and the quality work protocol. So these 5 essential resources ensure the implementation of the instructional core in Jefferson County. So in this graphic, you'll see the student at the center, and then around it, you'll see the curriculum frameworks along with the standards, assessment, and instruction. So this graphic kind of shows the way in which we can conceptualize the instructional core as it relates to equity, our backpack of success, skills, culture, and climate, and our 6 systems.
All right, so quickly, principals and AICs and assistant principals, I want you to put this to the test, all right? So if someone asks your teachers, how do you decide what to teach and how to teach it? They should say, I start with the curriculum and instructional frameworks. And you should say, where on earth are those? And they should say the teacher backpack. If you ask your teachers, how do you deconstruct standards and how do you combine standards to create units of study? They should say, I start with the standard deconstruction and unit planning protocol that is in the teacher backpack. If you ask them, where can you find information about different types of assessments and their purposes and even examples? And where can you find assessments aligned to standards ready to use? They should say the JCPS assessment landscape and the curriculum frameworks. I bet lots of people didn't even know there were assessments in the curriculum frameworks. Great resource. All right, and where are those? They're in the teacher backpack. There should not be one teacher in the district, and really on the planet, in my opinion, that does not access our teacher backpack. I think it is that good. So make sure your teachers have that. Now, what if someone asks your teachers, how do you know the tasks you create for students are on grade level and aligned with standards? They should say, oh, we use in our collaborative team PLC meetings, we use the assignment review protocols. We use those to decide if our work is the level that it should be. And if you ask, how do you know that the products you ask students to create are the quality they need to be? They should say, we use the quality work protocol. And that helps us to know, if we're still stuck with our students doing dioramas, or if the products that we're asking our students to create are the quality they need to be and truly 21st century products. And if somebody says, well, where do you find all these resources? They should not say on the district website. Remember last year I actually went in and tried to do that, and it made me old quickly. So we've put everything together in one place, the teacher backpack. All right. So these 5 things are essential. I mean, they're just the 5 musts. We've tried to think of every cool way to say, like, should we call them the Fab 5? We don't know. We don't care what you call them. But your teachers have to use them and know them. All right? Thank you for tuning in, and perfect timing. We're going to roll right into the PLC session with none other than Michelle Dillard and Jessica Rosenthal. And that's where all this work takes place, in the PLC. So, Susanne, you're awesome. Thank you.